And welcome everybody to God in the Timber podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Scott. Pull up a seat. Let's talk a bit. And welcome back, everybody, to another week of God in the Timber podcast. I've actually lost count of what episode we're on. Maybe I'll catch it back up eventually. But I get to have my first guest tonight, and there's no other person I'd like to have as my first guest than my beautiful wife.
Hello. Hey, friends.
So I decided to bring her on for this one because the campfire story is her first time ever going camping with me. Let's say with me. I don't know if she went camping before then or not.
No, not really. I mean, no. I'm not a very outdoorsy person.
By telling, once we get in this story, that's the reason I assumed that it was her first camping trip. But yeah, and then we'll get into John 3. And my wife, she's very well versed in the Bible also, but she sees things different than I do, so it's good to have a person that equals you out, that could also give you stuff that you miss. It tells us in the Bible to not be unequally yoked, so that's where we're at today on this, but we'll just get to the nitty gritty of it first. What made you decide you wanted to go camping that weekend? Was it me? I can't remember. Was it me that's like, let's go camping?
I honestly can't remember, but I don't think it's ever a good idea to go camping in August for somebody who doesn't enjoy the heat. It was in August, wasn't it? I think it was August.
I can't remember when we went.
It was hot.
I just, like, it's always hot in the South. We always go camping in May. My wife has actually turned into a little, as Phil Robertson would say, my wife was a yuppie, and she has turned into a little bit of a redneck. She enjoys camping now. I still can't get her to go hunting with me, well, she'll go fishing with me. But she has planted a garden this year.
I did plant a garden this year.
I used to make fun of her because she couldn't keep anything alive, and she has grew, what?
Not too long ago, you bought me a cactus, and you told me that it was going to be dead. What did you say we should name it?
I said if you kill a cactus, something's wrong.
No, I was wanting to call it Alice. I wanted to name her, and you told me that I needed to. I can't remember what I was. Maybe that I didn't need to name her because she was going to be dead before long, or something like that.
I probably said that. But so let's just get into the nitty gritty.
She's still alive, though.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is. I'm looking at her right now. The cactus is still alive.
The first cactus got stolen.
Well, okay, yeah, that's
and I bought
true.
you one that looked just like. We kind of did the trick with the fish, where if a fish passes away, you get one for your kids that looks just like it.
We say it got stolen.
It really did get stolen.
That's a different story for a different day, but it got gone. Somebody thought that it was their plant, and it was, yeah, but anyways.
Yeah. But, all right, so let's reel her back into the campfire talk. I've always been an outdoorsman. If I wasn't always an outdoorsman, like, I guess this podcast would have zero, what would you say, like
initiative to have this kind of podcast.
Yeah, like this podcast would fall on deaf ears if I didn't believe in the stuff that I do. But I've always enjoyed camping. Like, me and my buddies would camp, and all summer, if you would have let us. When we was in high school, we lived on the riverbanks during the summer. So me and she was my girlfriend at the time, now she's my wife. I talked her into going camping. Most of the time we camped on the riverbank, but one of my buddies is like, hey, let's go camp at the creek. Which, if you know anything about the river versus the creek air is always cooler than it is at the river. Well, we get all this stuff together. And I'm just a nitty-gritty camper. Like, I don't have to have anything fancy to go camping. Like, a sleeping bag and something to shed the water off of me, and it's fine. And I ain't going to lie. I've gotten a little bit bougie on camping. just because the mosquito bites after a while, they suck. So now I got to have a pretty good tent, which I'm in the market for a little bitty bivy tent for some solo camping trips. But that's beside the point. I get all this stuff loaded up, and my wife is like, "Where's the air conditioner?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? You ain't gonna, like, we don't take an air conditioner." She's like, "I'm not going unless there's an air conditioner."
I did say that. I did.
So I think she got on Facebook and posted because we didn't have any window units. And I'm here to tell you, I can't carry no 2.5 ton or whatever size unit that we had at the time. I couldn't carry it down there. So she gets on Facebook and she's like, "Does anybody have an air conditioner that we could borrow?" She didn't put on there for camping. So
no. Oh, they would think I was crazy if I put on there.
What do you think I thought?
Well, I mean, that was really, it was just for, us to know, at that time. I don't care now. Because
somebody got on Facebook out of the goodness of their heart because the person that let us borrow it was from our church, the church that we used to go to. So they probably got on there and was like, "Oh, they're in a hard time. They're in a trial time. We need to let them borrow our window unit."
Yeah.
And little did they know, it was to take to the creek bank. And I will say, I've always been pretty bougie about having a generator because I'm not going to say always been bougie. Whenever my dad got his camper, we had generators. So I was going to take the generator down there regardless to air up the air mattress and stuff. That generator, I had to take 10 gallons of gas for 3 days.
Well, you need to tell them about our setup that we had to get creative with.
Oh, we got to get the generator down there first. Like, we getting to the setup.
Okay, we're getting to the setup. Okay.
So we have to cross this creek to camp on the other side. And let me tell you, at that moment, I wasn't as big into church as I am now. But I wish I would have been Moses and could have parted the Red Sea, because floating that generator across that creek was terrible, because it wasn't like these lightweight generators today.
It wasn't hard for me to carry.
Oh, yeah, because you didn't carry nothing. That's how our beach trips goes. I'm a pack mule when it comes to beach trips, but that's another story for another day. But yeah,
I help some. I help carry stuff.
She carries her beach chair.
That is not true. Now I carry like beach toys and
Well, so we get everything set up, and the tent that I had was like a camper of a tent. It was a humongous tent. Me and my best friend had the same exact tent. We bought them at the same exact time, and to this day, me and him, we bought the same exact tent again. And so it had a screen porch on the front of this tent. And I was like, if we run that in there, the air conditioner, let's not forget it's an air conditioner, where's it going to drain at? Mm-hmm. So I ended up setting up a little bitty table on the outside of the tent and zipping, tent's got 2 zippers. I put the window unit's face inside of this screened-in porch and zipped the bottom up to it, and then zipped the top zipper down to it to kind of seal it off.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sleep. Like, you go out and camping to not listen to a generator all night. You go out there to listen to the crickets and stuff, but guess what we got to listen to all night long?
I don't know. I kind of like the sound of a generator. It kind of reminds me of like my box fan at home.
That box fan on with a turbo on it.
Yeah. I mean, it is louder, but like, I kind of, the sound of a generator sounds good to me when I'm trying to sleep.
Not me. Like, I can't live. Well, I can live without it, but I enjoy my box fan. But the generator's just a little bit too loud. And then in the middle of the night, it cuts off, and you got to go out there and put more gas in it. But
that was one of the most, I wouldn't say the most comfortable. When we go in the spring, like late spring, it's the most comfortable. But that was a good idea of mine.
I don't think so. I'm glad you got out of that little yuppie phase, and we don't have to have it now.
We just don't go in August anymore, or September, really. I would go in like October, but that's always whenever, seasons, like hunting season starting, so we don't
I'll be in Missouri this year.
we don't really get to go hunting, or not hunting. I don't go hunting, but we don't get to go camping in October. I would like to go in October.
But we was talking about that at church now. Y'all ain't going to get this recorded until late September, but we've been in revival this week, and we've had a really good revival this week. I didn't get to make it Sunday due to work, but we've had the last 3 days have been a really good revival. And we was actually talking about we're having our second men's camping trip in October.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Are
you going to tell them you can't because it's hunting season, or are you going to go?
I told them we was picking out dates today, or talking about dates today, and I was like, as long as it ain't in the third weekend, because I don't want to miss it. But the third weekend, I'm headed to Missouri for a week.
What did the preacher preach on tonight about how? What did he preach on tonight?
Exactly, but
ooh,
we get to plan this one well ahead. Yeah. This ain't a spur of the moment thing, so we're either looking at the last weekend of September or the first weekend or the first or second weekend in October.
Okay.
But that is your campfire. Oh wait, do you want to tell them about what happened to me while on that camping trip?
Oh, that one camping trip. Are we talking about when the first time you learned that you really need to listen to what your
future wife
says, like future wife knows best kind of thing?
I've never claimed to be a smart person.
Well, so the longer we've been married, the longer that Kyle has, he doesn't really fuss much whenever I say, I don't think that's a good idea. When he was younger, he was really hard-headed about it. And if he thought
hard-headed comes into play in this story, literally.
It's punny, Did you see what I did there?
Oh, that was so good.
But
slapped my knee on that one.
Anyways, yeah, so now he listens to me a little bit more, but when this time, not so much. So they're right above where we were swimming. There was this
dead branch.
Big dead tree branch that was there. I mean, it wasn't like it was gonna. It really wasn't like it was gonna fall on top of us or anything. I think you just
saw an eyesore.
And it was an eyesore. Okay, that's his words, not mine. But he has
led to an eyesore.
What are those things that you use?
Hedge trimmers.
Hedge trimmers. Why did you have hedge trimmers?
I was clearing out some of the brush where our tent was going to sit, so it didn't poke a hole in it.
Okay, so he gets the hedge trimmers.
My best friend throws me the hedge trimmers, but even he was saying this is a bad idea.
Yeah, so he learned that when his future wife at this time says it's a bad idea, it's probably a bad idea. But then for sure, when his best friend says, I don't think this is a good idea, he should just listen. But anyways, he takes these hedge trimmers, and I can't remember exactly how you get up there.
So
like you throw them up there?
The way it went was me and Steve, y'all heard me call him Steven, was in the creek. And he walks up there, and I was like, well, throw me them hedge trimmers. And he throws them to me. He gets back down there in the water with me. Well, he thinks I'm going to climb up there and cut it. So he's telling me the whole time, he's like, them hedge trimmers ain't going to go through that. It's too thick of a tree branch. And I was like, no, it's dead. So what I'm going to do is throw them over there into the crack of where the handle is.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to jump from the creek, and I'm going to grab onto the handle, and I'm just going to jerk it down and let it fall beside me.
Yeah.
It fell on me.
Did it go the way that you planned for things to go?
Not at all.
No. So
the execution was flawless until, they say falling don't hurt. It's the sudden impact at the bottom that hurts. That's what happened. The execution was good.
That's the first time that I've ever heard the execution was flawless.
It was. It was just the sudden impact of the tree branch across my big old noggin that hurt.
Yeah. So it
my plan worked.
Okay, yeah, it worked, I guess, but it sliced his head. And, I had to say, I didn't want to, but, I just couldn't help but say, it was one of those moments to where I just had to say, I told you so. And, those moments have started, as we've both gotten older, those have become fewer and far between.
baby, last year when we was catfishing down there, and I jumped from the bed of my truck to grab a branch and fell out of the back of the truck.
Yeah. Yeah, but
it's something about me just wanting to jump and hold on to stuff.
But it's not as it just those kind of moments don't happen as often.
Yeah.
As they,
We've had some good memories.
Yeah.
And we got a lot more to go. So,
Lord willing.
Yep, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. We are going to jump into chapter 3. This right here is, I keep saying 20 week. It might end up being 21 week study of John. And
hold on just a second. We have to tell them that I love camping now.
Oh yeah, she loves camping now. Like, she actually goes camping more, or wants to go camping more than I do.
I just like to go whenever it's like, like May, when it's warm during the day, but it's like 65 degrees at night.
Yeah,
I like going then.
I'm hoping when me and Steve-O goes to Missouri, because I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos from Missouri, and apparently that week is like really, really hot in Missouri. Like, I'm hoping it falls a blizzard or something. Well, I don't want a blizzard because I want to be able to get back home, but
Missouri is crazy. It's like flat farmland.
Where we're going is like, where I'm going, might be going in September, is mountains.
Oh.
I'm going to
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
In September, I might be going to the Mark Twain National Forest, which is like mountains. But so I keep saying this is a 20-week study. It might end up being 21 weeks because I was looking at it Actually, I was looking at it yesterday, and I thought some of these chapters got shorter, but it seems like all of these chapters in John are about 50 verses. If we do have a short chapter, we would cover 2 chapters in that one. But so in chapter 2, we went over where we finally get to see Jesus' temper, where he flips over the tables because they was pretty much making a marketplace out of the temple. And that's what he says. Money was changing hand inside the temple. So now we're going into chapter 3, and one of the most well-known verses in chapter 3 is John 3:16. And me and Maggie was actually talking about this, was it yesterday, sitting on the porch, where I said we talk about John 3:16, but we never talk about 17 and 18. But Maggie ain't heard me do none of these yet. So the way I do it, or the way that I think it, is I'll read a few verses and then we discuss a few verses.
Okay.
It's just like a Bible study at church. So I'm actually reading out of the King James Version today because my new King James is in the car and I was too lazy to go pick it up, get it out of there. So John 3, there was a 3:1. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Jesus by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher, come from God, for no man can do these miracles that thou doest, except God be with him. And Jesus answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Nicodemus saith unto him, How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? Jesus answered, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Marvel not that I say unto ye, or to thee, ye must be born again. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell hence it cometh, and whither it goeth. So is every one that is born of spirit. Nicodemus answered and said unto him, How can these things be? And Jesus answered and said unto him, Art thou a master of Israel, and knowest not these things? Verily, verily, I say unto thee, we speak that we do know, and testify we have seen, and ye receive not our witness. So, verses 1 through 11, we get to meet another person in the Bible. We get to meet Nicodemus. And he questions just like anybody else would question. If somebody come up to you and said, hey, to do this, you must be born again. Well, as Christians, we know what born again means. Mm-hmm. But at this time, Jesus has not fulfilled the prophecy yet. Mm-hmm. So he's still learning. Or not, he's not still learning. People are still learning who Jesus is. That's the reason why we're going over John, is so we can learn who Jesus was. And I feel like if I was Nicodemus, not knowing what I know now, I would do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Be like, how could I be born again?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I can climb back in my mother's womb and be actually physically born again. So we get to see kind of like I guess this is not a parable because a parable is a story, but we get to see Jesus' teaching right here where he's like, no, back up. We're not talking about a physical birth. We're talking about a spiritual birth now. And I think one of my favorite like key things out of this is, let me find it. Verse 8. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell hence it came from, and whither it goeth. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. A lot of people interpret the Bible different, but I've always really liked that verse because being an outdoorsman, we play the wind. Like, we're always worried about the wind. Where is it blowing out of? Where is it going to? If I'm up in a tree stand, which I'm talking Spanish to my wife right now pretty much because she don't.
No, I understand the wind blows a certain way. You don't want the deer to smell your... I understand. I listen.
You always want the wind in your face, but you got to think about where that wind is coming from after that. So if I'm sitting up in a tree stand and the wind's hit me in the face, well, behind me is a bedding area where all the deer are sleeping. I'm letting them know I'm there. So I actually need to be on the opposite side of them coming out of a bedding area. I love when Jesus brings out like nature and uses it for an example, because we can see the wind, we can feel the wind, but we don't truly know where that wind starts and stops. Mm-hmm. And I just think that is awesome. You got any input on this first 11 verses? It's my wife's first ever podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
She'll be a staple in this.
I don't know.
We've been trying to record this for like 3 weeks, by the way.
I just think that... I think I would be, caught off guard if somebody were to come to me and be talking about being born again, too. I think that, I don't really know what I'm trying to say here. You're going to have to cut this part out. Probably.
I don't edit nothing.
You're going to have to.
I don't edit nothing. I'll try to figure out how to do it. Mark it there to right. Okay, we'll try that and see if that works. I don't know how to mark it, but...
22 minutes.
So, another verse that I don't know why I know why he did it, but I want to get your input on it, is the very first 3 verses. Mm-hmm. So, Nicodemus is a Pharisee, and he is a ruler. Jesus tells us that he is a ruler. But in the first 3 verses, there was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. So now we know who he is. He's a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Jesus by night. That has always stuck out to me, that he came to Jesus by night. It tells us in the Bible a lot of in multiple places that all bad deeds, all sins, or not all sins, but a majority of your sins are committed by night because they are hidden by the darkness. So it's always stuck out to me that Nicodemus came by night because he was afraid of what other people was going to think of him going to talk to Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I take from it too, is that Jesus was the last person that he should have been going as far as, the Pharisees were concerned.
Yeah. And see, another thing that always, it says, and said unto him, Rabbi. So in the Jewish language, Rabbi means teacher. I guess it's Hebrew. Rabbi means teacher. So this leader of the Jews is going to Jesus by night and already calling him teacher. Mm-hmm. So he had some kind of faith in him, because if not, he would have just called him,
Hey, dude.
Hey, what's up, guy?
What's up, dude?
So, but yeah, now we get into, I guess you could say, the meat and taters of John 3, and that's 12 through...
I guess I do have something 21. To add to that.
Go ahead.
though. Where in verse 4, where it says, Nicodemus said unto him, how can a man be born again when he is... Oh, no, in verse 3. Just kidding. It said, Jesus answered and said unto him, verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. I think that something there is like, I'm not saying that it's simple to be born again, but like we try to put all these steps on, like, you have to play a certain part to see the kingdom of God. But verse 3, it just says a man needs to be born again. You know what I'm saying? Like we make it out like we have to, like,
we got to follow these certain steps.
Religion. And, religion will kill somebody, if we get stuck in our religion. We, like these certain steps. And really in verse 3, it just says to be born again and to be truly born again. I mean, we can say that we're born again, but...
I've actually preached a message one time about religion versus relationships.
Right. It's a totally different thing. And... So, anyways, that's just something that stands out to me.
Well, something that, while you brought that up, before we get moving on to this next part, that first off of verse 3, be born again, it tells us to come to be humble as a child. Mm-hmm. So, a child from birth until it knows right and wrong. And side note, parents, teach your kids right and wrong. They're going to learn it from the world. You might as well teach it to them through biblical word. There's your free caveat for this podcast. But to be born again, we have to pretty much we got to become childlike again in our faith. Like,
yeah,
you have to be childlike, be humble, don't be prideful. And I'm here to tell you, my wife knows, and I actually think I say it in one of these podcasts. I don't know where because I've lost track. But last year was a very humbling year for me. Chased after being a influencer and doing all this stuff for companies, and was worried about more of the likes and follows on social media than actually being an outdoorsman and a woodsman. And it bit me in the butt. I did not kill a deer last year at all.
You didn't kill one at all?
I didn't kill a deer at all last year. I missed a doe opening day. First time I missed a doe with a bow in 6 years, or a deer with a bow in 6 years. But, so, verses 12 through 21, we're going to read this straight, and then we'll go do like we just did. We'll break it down.
Okay.
Verse 12, if I have told you earthly things, and you believe not, how shall you believe if I tell you of heavenly things? And no man hath ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man which is in heaven. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have eternal life. And then verse 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And these next few verses is what I feel like don't get talked about a lot. Like I was telling you on the porch the other day. For God sent his Son into the world to condemn the world, but not the world through him might be saved. He that believeth on him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. And this is the condemnation, that the light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil. For everyone that doeth evil hateth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds should be reproved. But he that doeth true cometh to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest, that they are wrought in God. Here we go again with the darkness. Mm-hmm. I feel like Jesus meant to put that, which Jesus means to put everything in certain places, but I feel like he meant to tell Nicodemus that because Nicodemus came in the darkness. Like, I've been reading over this for the past couple of weeks, and that right there stuck out to me, that Nicodemus came in the night. And then Jesus points out that all evil deeds are done in the night. I just think that is
think,
not a coincidence.
I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. Are you thinking that Nicodemus came? Do you think he came because it says all evil things? You think he came with like an evil intent?
No, I don't think he come with an evil intent. I think he come to learn, but I think that Jesus was putting it into the perspective of, hey, you are a leader of the Jews. If you would have come to me at daytime, they would have saw that your faith is strong in me, and that would have brought more people at the time to me in a shorter period of time, which we know that this is a prophecy of what has to come. Like, people are going to follow Christ. He's going to continue to do miracles, but eventually he has to go to the cross. If he don't go to the cross, we'd never go to heaven.
I think it also kind of, it doesn't really, where we were at tonight in 2 Corinthians, it doesn't say anything about, at church, it doesn't say anything about darkness, but in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 3, it says, but if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost. And that's something that really stood out to me tonight at church was, you know, so it kind of goes back to maybe that is what Jesus is saying, you know, come to me in the light so that other people can see you come to me. And I mean, that makes sense. I've never thought about it that way. You know, but yeah.
Like what we was talking about on the porch the other day is, I feel like, so if you read 12 through 16, it pretty much says the same thing over and over. It says that God sent his only begotten Son, so you shall not perish but have everlasting life. But then 17 goes into that he was not, that God didn't send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but to save the world.
Right.
So now we get to see the first really prophecy or foretelling of the prophecy that God sent Jesus to save us.
And, you know, that same goes, not comparing ourselves to Jesus, but as Christians, you know, we're supposed to be Christ-like. And that also in 17, where Jesus was not sent to condemn the world. And I'm not saying that we have to be okay with sin, because we should never be okay with sin. But we should, you know, handle sin and things that go against the Word and go against God. We should handle them. We're supposed to. We're called to handle them the way that Jesus, and you know, so that also could speak to us too about condemning the world. And I mean, like I said, no, we're not supposed to conform and be okay with sin, but you know, God can use us to lead somebody else to God. And you know, it could just take just one person, me showing one person love, or you showing one person love, and them saying that, hey, you know, that Jesus is, I might want something to do with Jesus, you know.
So to add to that, not really to add to it, but before the revival, we always have our men's prayer outside. And I actually brought that up tonight, was how so many times we quench the Spirit because we're afraid of what other people's going to think.
Yeah.
And if you stay on this podcast or listen to this podcast enough, you'll hear me say it, a white-knuckle Christian.
Oh, yeah.
I've said that for a long time. A white-knuckle Christian, for the people that's new to the faith or new to hearing me talk about this, is that person that's sitting in the pew and feels the Spirit against, like, just
I think
flow
we've
it.
all been there, yeah.
Oh, we've all been there.
Everybody's, yeah, for sure.
And they are gripping the pew so tight that their knuckles are white.
Except little kids.
Except little kids.
Little kids will go and do it.
And so in the prayer group tonight, that's what I mentioned was, like my prayer tonight was, or in the prayer group, we always start with pretty much a testimony, talking. And my thing was, I pray that we don't have any white knuckle Christians in there to quench the Spirit tonight. And that kind of sounds like I was hoping that nobody would be like
certain people wouldn't be there. Or,
yeah, and I didn't mean it like
right.
that. I meant it like, hopefully everybody come in there with an open heart and
Right.
open mind. With
Come expecting.
Yeah, that is our church motto. You walking through our foyer, and it says "Come expecting" across the foyer. And so many times,
But we always have to. What is it, baby? Sorry, our baby's come in here. She's okay. Is everything okay? All right. Okay, love you.
but yeah, we have to come expect, and that's like, I hope nobody in the group took it like that. I know what God was meaning, or what when God told me to say it. I know what
Right.
His words was.
I'm sure everybody else knew that too.
But I just didn't want nobody to come in, because I'm here to tell you it only takes one person to quench the Holy Spirit, to pretty much not really ruin a service, but
Just to hold it back. Like,
hold
it's
back
like
a
what,
service.
You know, like what they said, you know, it can take one person going up to the altar and giving that person who's never had the courage to go, you can give them the, you know.
And we've witnessed that a lot. Like so many times, like we'll be at a church service and they'll do an altar call and nobody comes. And then the pastor will be like, well, let's just sing one more verse. Like God put it on his heart, just one more verse of this hymn. And then for the next 30 minutes to an hour, that altar is full.
Yeah.
Because one person was sitting there just white knuckling that seat, and finally that last verse, they knew that they only had one more verse, and they finally stepped out on faith, and bam, it's an avalanche. And that's what we need in this nation right now. We need an avalanche of Christianity.
Do you remember the first time you went
Yeah,
to the altar?
I talked about that in the first episode.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Duh.
But so now we're going to shift gears. My Bible breaks it up. I don't know about your new one. Yeah, yours does too. Breaks it up in like different little stories. So 35 through 42.
No, you're in chapter 3.
Oh, my bad, guys.
He flipped the page.
22 through 36, which is the end of it. We get to talk about John again. Okay. So, John in the very first chapter, he's prophesizing. He's telling people, hey, there is a guy coming that is greater than me. And he tells them straight up, like, I'm not the Messiah. The guy that's coming after me is the Messiah. So now we get to hear John's testimony about Jesus. And I already know there's one verse in here. Whenever we get to it, I'll stop and we really get to dive deep into it, or I feel like we need to dive deep into it. So you want to read this?
Sure.
So it'll be 22 to 36, and then we'll go back to that verse.
After these things came Jesus and his disciples into the land of Judea, and there he tarried with them and baptized. And John also was baptizing in Adon, near to Salem, because there was much water there. And they came and were baptized, for John was not yet cast into prison. Then there arose a question between some. Is your Bible, is it italicized there where it says some?
No, but that's the verse that I was wanting to stop at.
So mine has some italicized. Anyways, okay. Then there arose a question between some of John's disciples and the Jews about purifying. Am I keeping on going and reading?
Yeah, read it all the way through, and then we'll go back and discuss.
And they came unto John and said unto him, Rabbi, he that was with thee beyond Jordan, to whom thou bearest witness, behold, the same that baptizeth, and all men come to him. John answered and said, a man can receive nothing, except it be given him from heaven. Ye yourself bear me witness, and that I said, I am not the Christ, but that I am sent before him. He that hath the bride in the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom, which standeth and heareth him, rejoiceth greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This my joy therefore is fulfilled. He must increase, but I must decrease. Must is italicized right there too. He that cometh from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly. That's good. and speaketh of the earth. He that cometh from heaven is above all. That is so good. And what he hath seen and heard, that he testifieth, and no man receiveth his testimony. He that hath received his testimony hath set to his seal that God is true. For he whom God hath sent speaketh the words of God, for God giveth not the Spirit by measure unto him. For the Father loveth the Son, and hath given all things into his hand. He that believeth on the Son hath everlasting life, and he that believeth not the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abideth on him.
So, I wish my new Bible might be italicized, but this one's not. But all the ones that you said was italicized was the ones that I was thinking about. 25, we'll go to there. Then there arose a question between some of John's disciples and the Jews about purifying. So yours is italicized there. I feel like it's kind of like a high school clique.
Yeah.
Where some of them was like, oh my goodness, do you see what's going on over there? They are going to Jesus, or they're going to this guy instead of coming over here to John. And John was the one who started this trend type deal.
Probably. Like the mean girls, but, you know.
Yeah, that's why
girls.
Whenever I first read this.
Not necessarily mean girls, but, you know.
And then my other one that would be 29 through 30. And we can go over some that you want to discuss too. But it says, ye yourself bear, so this is John talking, ye yourself bear me witness, say that I am not the Christ, but I am sent before him. Like, he has already told them multiple times, hey, so going back to 25, he's telling them, like, look, this is pretty much like jealousy. That I feel like it's kind of like a jealous spirit between some of them. That's not justified, because I've already told you that I am not the Christ, but the one that come after me is. And then 29, he hath the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom which standeth and heareth him rejoiceth greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This is my joy, therefore is fulfilled. To stop and discuss that for a little bit before we get to 30. Your best man at your wedding, which me and Maggie got married after church one Sunday. We didn't have a big elegant wedding. But I've been in multiple weddings, and one of my good friends, he had a big wedding and in Jackson, Tennessee, and they came up to me and they was like, hey, you got to give a speech at the reception. And I'm like, no, I don't do speeches. And which is funny, because at that time, if you ever see me out in public, just come up and talk to me, because I'm not a very approachable person.
It's your face. Your face doesn't look approachable, but you are approachable. It's just you have a face that's just like, it's not inviting. You know, like it's a very handsome face, but it's just like I don't really want to speak to you face.
Yeah, so
like,
if you ever see me out in public.
Not I don't want to speak, but like you don't really want to speak to other people face. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so if you ever see me out in public, just come talk to me. I'm a very nice guy.
Yeah.
But I've mulled on it for a little while, and if you get to know me, I nitpick. Like, not nitpick, but I like to pick on people. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite pastimes, is just to pick on people. But I do it out of a good heart. So his wife, the day before, drove us through Jackson, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of for this, I got up, it was the shortest best man speech ever. But I was so excited that they got married that I felt like I had to say something. And I got up and I told him, and I don't know if I need to say their names.
Probably not.
But I was like, I said, brother, I'm so proud that you found a woman like this. And I hope that you keep God first, because her driving about killed me. Mm. In the middle of this reception with probably 300 people there. And everybody was looking at me like, did you really just say this? And I was like, hey, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it 100.
Oh, yeah.
But At that time, I've only been to a couple big cities. Like, I didn't travel a lot.
Is Jackson big?
Jackson's a pretty big city.
Is it?
And I think Johnny Cash was talking about Jackson, Mississippi, but you know,
What? Well, no way. That's
says I'm going
Christmas
to Jackson.
in Dixie. Oh, Lord, I was thinking of Christmas in Dixie. Okay, go ahead.
But
Jackson, Mississippi.
she would literally be going down the interstate and being the best man. I got to ride shotgun, and I looked over there, and she's going like, which I drive like this too, but she was driving like 95 down the interstate, and then all of a sudden would slam on her brakes and put, at that time I was 300 pounds, put my big tail up on the dash. And that was the only thing I could think of at this reception was always keep God first, because with her driving, you definitely going to need it. But I was
You
so...
were not her favorite person ever after that speech.
Oh, I was it for years. She's actually... I think she likes me now.
Well, you've grown. You've
Yeah.
matured quite a bit.
But... yeah, that's my little thing about the best man, because he says, but the friend of the bridegroom, which standeth and heareth him, rejoiceth greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This is my joy, therefore, is fulfilled. I was so happy for him whenever I got to stand there beside him during that wedding. I was so happy for him. When Steve-O got married, I was so happy to stand beside him, knowing that they have found the love of their life. But then you go to 30... and I feel like this is one of the best verses, and it's preached a lot. One of the best verses in John. He must increase, but I must decrease.
That's really good. That's so good.
So many times and this is just my interpretation of it, we feel like we have to do everything. Mm-hmm. Even as Christians, we feel like, I say that, a lot of Christians, me and myself included, we feel like we have to do everything.
We get in the way.
Exactly. And
we stay in the way all the time when we try to do things.
And I relate everything back to the outdoors and hunting. I'm an overthinker. You know that. You've been married to me for 10 years now. I'm an overthinker. And I'll be setting up a stand, and all of a sudden I'm up there for an hour, and I'm like, if I would move about 20 yards that way, I'd be in a lot better position. And then I move, and guess what? 20 yards didn't make that big of a difference. I still didn't see a deer. But I overthink it, like...
Yeah, I agree with that. I think... I've said it, like, our whole marriage, that I think that you overthink hunting. Just go out there and sit and wait. And if they come, they come. If they don't, they don't. The wind doesn't have to be blowing in your face, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. That is one thing, because their sense of smell is so good. But how many times if I would have just been okay and sat there?
Right.
Instead of going in my own understanding or my own thought process. I literally moved one time last year, and a deer walked under the tree that I was sitting in.
And you still didn't hit nothing last year?
No, because this time I moved like 150 yards, and then I saw movement, and I threw up my binoculars. I got them Alpine binoculars, and I looked through them, and the deer was standing under the tree where I put some sand out, and it was licking the leaf. If I would have just waited and not overthought it. And then the last verse that really stuck out to me, and then I'd like to get your take on some of these before we exit, or before we get off here. This is the longest podcast I've done, by the way, babe. 36, he that believeth on the Son hath everlasting life, and he that believeth not on the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abideth on him. So now we get to see, which we saw in the Old Testament a lot, the wrath of God. Now John is telling them about the wrath of God. Like, we hear John 3:16, and these are totally, like, if you read on the verse 22, John and Jesus is not together at this time. They're across from each other. And John repeats the same exact message that Jesus gave to Nicodemus. He that believeth on the Son has everlasting life, and he that believeth not on the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abideth on him. Imagine the discernment of the Spirit in John's life, that he literally just quoted Jesus, and they haven't even talked to each other.
Yeah. That's what, that is what about the Bible that just, there are things, in the Old Testament and the New Testament that, the Old Testament they align with things that happen in the New Testament. And then you've got the gospel, the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, 4 different authors. Well, they're all, God's the author, but they're the penman of, but you've got 4 different perspectives of,
the same story,
and they all line up. And that's, you see that throughout the entire, and then in this situation, Jesus and John, word for word, basically the same thing. That's and that is what makes the Bible so much more than just a history book. It's true. It's truth. Jesus is truth, and that's what makes it. That's what solidifies that it is the truth. Is because there's so many different perspectives.
And see, that's where a lot of the atheists come in about the contradictions in the Bible. Like, it says this, but then it also says this. But they will contradict each other, talking about from the Old Testament to the New Testament, where Leviticus is talking about all these rules that you have to follow. Well, then you get into the New Testament, and it just pretty much says, follow my commandments and love thy neighbor as you would yourself. Like, But
Jesus comes and
exactly, Jesus comes and dies on the cross. So the Mosaic law and the Old Testament is now gone.
Right.
They will pick out stuff in the the Old Testament and be like, so I'm a bearded guy, but I'm also bald headed. In Leviticus it says not to round the corners of your beard or mar the hair on your head, talking to the men. So that's saying, hey, don't cut your hair or cut your beard. But then you go into the New Testament, and it don't say anything about a man shaving his head or cutting his beard. But they'll be like, oh, well, looky here. In Leviticus, it tells you not to do this, but the New Testament, it tells you that you can do this type deal. And the atheist, and I'm here to tell you guys, if you're listening to this, guys and girls, an atheist will be able to quote Scripture better than anybody because they read it to disprove it while we read it to prove it. Right. And you have to be on your spiritual warfare game whenever you're confronted by anybody that is questioning the Bible. Like, you have to get into the Word and read the Word, so you can have that conversation from the point of view of this is the truth.
Right.
Is there any verses you wanted to touch over?
Well, let's see. I should have already had them pointed out. Let's see. He must increase, but I must he must increase, but I must decrease is like, I think that you said something about that, but I just think that, like I said, we get in the way of really doing God's work. I think everybody is guilty, guilty probably is the word, of like God speaking to them, telling them to do something. I don't know whether it's, I hate to go back to like going to the altar, or if God, I don't hate to go back to it, but like just because we just got done talking about it, but you know what I'm saying. But like if God like tells you to go pray for this person, or even something as simple as like, hey, how are you doing? And like whenever you ask how somebody's doing, like really mean, like how are you doing? Like I feel like God can use us in so many different ways, and like, but we just kind of stand in the way of that. And the one that stuck out to me the most was the next verse that said, he that cometh from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly, and speaketh of the earth. He that cometh from heaven is above all. And to me, we come here with nothing. We're born with nothing. And we leave here with nothing. But a lot of times we spend our whole life chasing everything. And we don't spend our life with, being kingdom minded, and like what is like truly. And that's something that has been like for me to like put my phone away. Like I had like 100 unread text messages on my phone yesterday, and I went through and looked, because like it's been important to me lately to just not be on my phone as much lately.
As I deleted pretty much, besides the God in the Timber stuff, I have deleted pretty much all social media.
That's like my biggest like thing for me is my phone, and like how often has it stood in the way of, me being kingdom minded, and it's a lot. Like it's a lot.
I was telling you this, and so I listen to the Unashamed podcast, which is the Robertson clan, which Phil, God rest his soul, has passed on. But I just now started listening to them, and I was a big Duck Dynasty fan growing up.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming they was all sitting around a table, and I'm assuming one of either Al, or I'm going to say Al because Jace is not very technologically advanced, also what he claims, has a MacBook. And Phil looks at this MacBook and says, we talk about the forbidden fruit being a bite taken out of it. Look at that logo. It's an apple with one single bite taken out of it. Never thought of it that way. But technology can be used for good. As we can see here, we're making a podcast, and hopefully the seed is spread through this podcast. So technology can be used for good, but how many times has inappropriate stuff just popped up on TikTok?
Yeah.
Or how many times have inappropriate
and then you
stuff?
have to like scroll really quick because it's like,
because the algorithm, if you watch it for over 5 seconds.
Well, like my thing is like if the kids are sitting there, which I try not to get on, like if they're, I try to get on like after they've been to sleep, but like for real, it's always if the kids are around, something really ugly is going to come on there for them to hear,
Oh,
That's what it
100%.
seems like anyways.
But I want to thank my wife for joining me on this podcast, and y'all got to hear her story of her first camping trip. And we've been on a lot of camping trips since then, and we'll hopefully, if God willing, be on a lot more camping trips. We've actually added 2 kids to our trips since then.
Yes.
That time we just had our oldest daughter.
We didn't get to go on our camping trip this year because the weather. We had some really bad weather that came through, and
we always go like the Memorial Weekend.
Yeah.
But thank y'all for joining. This is the longest podcast that we've did, but it's also been a very inquisitive podcast. As always, y'all head over to the social medias and share them, not to grow my fan base or anything like that, but get the seed of the Word of God spread out farther. Make sure y'all like this, the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and rate it 5 stars or whatever you feel like rating it. If you don't feel like you got anything and you want to review it and give it a 1 star, guess what? You at least listen to it, so you got some kind of Word of God from it. I might not be the best mouthpiece, but I feel like God is using me to do this. And y'all tune in next week. Y'all's challenge for this week is to go ahead and study chapter 4, and we will go over it, and we get to see another miracle from Jesus. So thank y'all, and hope y'all have a blessed day.